Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And to you.
Nice tie. Let me stay with the topics that Mr. Huizenga has raised. Let's go back to the IMF quota reform issue. As it stands now, does this do anything to the voting weight either of the EU in respect to the United States? I know sometimes these can shift over time, and I'm just concerned about whether or not we have, in a governance respect, the same weight and the same influence that we have today.
Congressman, the thing about the IMF reforms that's so important is that it preserves the U.S. position and it provides for some reallocation of representation basically between Europe and emerging economies. It was a difficult negotiation. It was critical to us to maintain the U.S. position in the IMF. And the reason it's so important to ratify the agreement is that we're the last country to step forward. We right now are the only country standing in the way of having the IMF reform become the policy of the IMF. The impatience around the world is becoming extremely high. It is as if the United States said we recognize the emerging countries' need to have more voice, but now we won't take the step, even though it doesn't hurt the United States. On the contrary, it strengthens our position. I think it's critically important to our leadership, not just in the IMF, but more broadly, for us to get this done.
All right. And you feel comfortable that we are not, I could understand if we were reluctant to engage in a deal where our loss was everyone else's gain. I mean, I totally understand taking a pro-American position on that, but you're quite sure that we're not giving the store away here.
Absolutely, and I have to say, ironically, we're being criticized on both sides by the countries that gain and the countries that lose for standing in the way of the reforms.
Okay, let me go over to the IAIS issue, the International Association of Insurance Supervisors. We're trying to work out some reforms there as well, adopt some standards, and I understand the need for this, and I understand that the AIG issue is probably hanging out there on behalf of some of our international neighbors about the need for reform. But I've got a lot of big insurers in my district, and we've got a lot of insurers that do a very good job here in the United States. And I'm just concerned about whether the integrity of the insurance system is being maintained during those negotiations. I know Mr. Huizenga was concerned about the lack of our people at the table. Who is at the table, and how vigorous is our representation?
Congressman, Treasury is at the table. The bank regulators are at the table, and I think that the real question is, do we have the right kind of standard for insurance companies? And we've made clear that we think that insurance companies should be held to an insurance company kind of standard. Just last year, Congress passed a law, and it was signed into law, that permits our regulators to take account of that as they impose capital requirements on insurance companies. It's now being implemented here domestically. We will control the United States policy through our regulatory agencies. So if we designate an institution in the United States, the Fed will make that decision. And fundamentally, it is a national authority.
All right. Now I'm down to my last minute. Let me try to drill down on that issue a little bit more. This concern regarding ComFrame, which is they're trying to compel our side to basically adopt this ComFrame, and so I haven't read it, I confess, but seems to have the attention of our insurance industry, and I'm a little concerned about that. And secondly, we have GISIs now. I have GISIs, which is globally significant insurance something or other. But obviously that brings enhanced supervision on our insurers here in the United States vis-a-vis our international neighbors.
Well, ultimately, the only thing that puts enhanced standards on our companies is the regulatory actions taken in the United States. So the international process is one trying to drive the international standard to a high level, but each national authority retains the responsibility to regulate its own. And that's when we make a designation at FSOC, we're the national authority doing the designation. If a firm is designated, the Fed will be the national authority making the
I think they're concerned about a follow-on effect. In other words, you adopt something at an international level that requires us to do as you say, change our regulations.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The Chair now recognizes